is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. Yeah. Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. Yes. Life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess. I'm trying, I'm crying, I feel like I'm dying. I'm doing my best.
Welcome back to Being Human and Other Shit. I am Melissa and this is Stacy. And today we are on the ancestral homeland of the Nisenan people.
Got it.
We acknowledge them as the past, present, and future caretakers of this land.
All right. And we are going to interview our beautiful co-host today.
I'm just nervous. I'm a little nervous.
Are you?
Yeah.
I mean, we had a couple beers. You're still nervous?
Yeah.
I feel like
they didn't help.
I feel like I'm loosey goosey, ready to rock.
They didn't help as much, but you know me. I don't like all the attention just directed at me, and this is like about my experience. So.
Well, and this could actually go like one of two ways with the beers. It could go,
Exactly.
you're either going to cry harder or you're going to be like, suck it up, Whitley, you're fine.
We'll see. Wildflower Whitley.
What you guys also didn't see is for the 10th time, because of the 10th episode, we just laughed our asses off when Jeannie clapped. Again, it took us a while to get it together.
Every time.
Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about Melissa's experience going on a 10-day silent retreat. Yes, I said a 10-day fucking silent retreat. Still can't believe she did it, and she's alive to tell the tale. So yeah, it's Vipassana.
Vipassana.
Okay, so
Well, at least that's how they were pronouncing it while I was there. So.
well, I feel like if they're the owners of the company, that's the appropriate way to say
The teacher, if the teacher was saying it like that, it's probably the way you say it.
So yeah, so we're gonna kind of just get right back into it and talk about, I mean, your experience. First of all, like let's talk about the logistics of the situation. Like, where did you go?
I went to, it's here in California. I went to Kelseyville.
But they are all over. Right?
They are all over.
She's
Yeah,
trying to
all
get
over
us
the
to go to
world.
one in Idaho.
Yeah. Idaho. That's why. But yeah, they're all over the world. This one was in Kelseyville, California. A beautiful like camp, essentially.
That's like near Napa, right?
It's
Or am I thinking of
yes,
Clear Lake?
it's by Clear Lake. Clear
Okay,
Lake.
okay.
Closer to Clear Lake than Napa.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a beautiful campground. So you're just kind of like in a forest, essentially.
So you're like a yurt situation?
They're little cabins.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, you saw. I showed you the picture, didn't I? Did
I
I
blocked
not?
it out of my memory.
Okay, I'll post it of my little room. I loved it. But yeah, it was just like essentially a camp in the forest and surrounded by beautiful plants and trees, and it was everything that I know you love too.
Yeah,
and I
of
love.
course. I love everything about the situation, but the not talking.
You would have been fine. So the not talking, just to give some perspective to folks, is it really was like part of the prerequisites or so is like no lying, no stealing, no killing, but the lying piece. So you not speaking means you're not speaking any lies, essentially. But then
I feel like those are really intense. Like, who the fuck is stolen and killed there? That's
I
the
don't know,
story
but
I want to hear.
I did think about that when I was trying to go to bed the first night. Like,
Yeah,
is someone
no,
gonna-
listen, please don't lie. Like, make sure you do your chores. Don't steal and don't kill.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
And then no sexual misconduct. Yeah. Which,
I know that was hard for you.
no, it's stupid. I wish that was hard.
No, we knew.
I wish that was hard
Sexual
for me.
misconduct.
So one thing I will say, so it's Vipassana meditation retreat. Ultimately it's you go, and just to I guess backtrack a little bit, you go and you're learning a meditation technique to see things as they really are. They truly are, not how we want to see them.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of how we live, right? You want to see things however we want to see them. We have our own perspectives.
Yes.
But you're seeing things as they truly are. So you're doing a lot of observation of yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the prereqs were no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no intoxicant. So pretty much we're failing at
Yeah,
half
I
of
was like,
everything.
I'm out. We already shit the bed on this
We're
one.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that it ultimately is just you're sitting and you're learning how to observe your own sensations in your body and how they're linked to emotions.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, because I feel like a lot of what we have, I don't want to say preached, because I don't feel like we're up here on our soapbox, but I feel like a lot of what we've talked about is like sitting in silence with yourself
Scary.
Say that
That's
10
scary.
times. You know what I mean? But I feel like we've said that, like, sit in silence with yourself or like this and this until you heal and you're working on yourself. So you literally did that in like a very condensed, like a 10-day situation.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So it was definitely a lot. It was one of the hardest things, and I know I've told you this, but it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done, and the most rewarding at the same time. I'm so happy, even before we started, like saying, I'm just so happy that I went and I did that, and I feel so like grateful and blessed that I was able to experience that. And I even now today, we're recording this 2 weeks after. So yesterday was 2 weeks that I've been back.
It's only been 2 weeks. I feel like that was a year ago.
That was the longest 10 days for you. I know.
Every day I was texting her almost. Every day.
I know you're not getting this, but I miss you. I can't breathe without you.
Yeah. I was like, I was dramatic. I don't know how you did it.
It was good. I did fine. The no talking wasn't that bad, but it was really, the difficult part was I had a roommate in my cabin and I couldn't talk to her.
Yeah.
And so that was a little difficult because you're sharing this space with somebody, and it really helps you realize and recognize that like people's energy is very strong. And so like we got to feel each other's energy definitely. And that's like all we got to share with each other. But not being able to like say anything to her was really awkward.
Were you getting like science camp vibes where like, you know, the person in the bunk next to you misses being home and they're crying and you're like
Peter Pants?
Yeah, you're like, do I? Yeah. She kissed a banana slug and actually turned into some kind of weirdo freak, and you're like, I want to come for you, but I'm not supposed to even talk to you.
No, that exact thing happened to me actually, because I thought she got sick. Like this second day, she just seemed like distant.
Yeah,
it was just weird, and she kept going back to the room, and it was different than like the first day. And so I was like, man, I feel like she might be sick. And it was
which is
really
also cause for concern.
Yeah.
During COVID time, you're like, shit, this bitch is going to give me COVID.
I wasn't concerned about that, especially because you know me. I went with a freaking cough and a runny nose. So if anybody thought anyone had COVID, they thought it was me.
Thanks, Tess.
Shout out to Tess.
Yeah, thanks.
My coworker sent me with a little parting gift, which was a cold.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, which I'll get into that a little bit more. It became a little difficult to concentrate.
Yeah. Okay, so how long was this? How long was this retreat?
So it was 10 full days, like course days, and then I was gone for about 12 days.
I was gonna say, because you drove there, you had like a free evening. It was like no silence at that point, and then you woke up the next day and it was like, was there like a marker where it was like, boom, game time, shut up?
Yep.
Literal.
Shut up. It was that evening. So let's call it day 0. Day 0 was orientation. That's the day I arrived. There was orientation. They fed us dinner, which, by the way, all the meals there were so like delicious and thought out. And it's like, that's a whole nother emotional thing for me. Like I just felt so like privileged and grateful that like these people cooked these meals for us. It was just like such a beautiful experience.
And these are all volunteers doing
these
it,
are
isn't it?
Volunteers. Nobody's getting paid to do any of this stuff.
Dude, so you might have went on the week where like a chef was like, I came 2 months ago, I'm volunteering.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But so they make the same meals for all of the locations. So I don't know if they probably make the same meals, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
For each of them, but for all of the locations they make the same meals.
Well, I imagine it's just so much easier to have like a set menu.
Yeah.
You know,
and it was good.
It's
they
not
were
like a
all
resort
good.
where people are coming back to back and they have to like change up the menu.
Yeah. And it was all vegetarian. I was able to eat vegan the majority of the time. There was just one day that like the main course was mac and cheese and I was starving. So of course I ate that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I was able to eat vegan the whole time, which was cool. So day 0, orientation, and then we had like a group meditation session that night. And then at that time they like, that was the marker to like be silent. And so we walked back to our room. I wasn't able to talk to my roommate. And unfortunately I didn't talk to her before, like during orientation. You didn't know who your roommate was.
Yeah. They probably do that on purpose.
And so like I couldn't chat with her beforehand. And so it was literally like 10 days of just like feeling her energy and like wanting to talk to her so badly, just to check on her after a couple of days of her being sick, and then 2, just like different things, like just she kept walking like around to a different entrance to like get into our cabin when she she was trying to avoid me a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
like so that we didn't talk. So that was just a weird little.
You know what's crazy? And I think the you know, obviously, like, I know your whole experience besides before today. What I really thought about, I guess this is like the sped teacher in me, is just I think people forget how much we communicate using other things besides verbal language.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you knew, you could feel her energy. You knew, you know, she was avoiding you just by the way she was, like, her body language and how she was interacting. Like, it's just interesting to me. I could geek out on that, but anyway, moving on.
It was. And then so like the final day 10, and I'll go through some different experiences I had throughout, but day 10, the second half of day 10, they let us talk to each other. And so the first of all, I couldn't stop smiling because and you know me, I'm not even a chit chatter. Like, I don't really care. Like, no talking was not a big deal. It was sharing space with somebody and then being concerned about like their well-being and then like not being able to check on them. But then I just went straight to her and we just like smiled and we were just like, couldn't wait to talk to each other. And it was just, I was like, hey, were you sick like the second, third day? And she's like, no, I wasn't sick. She's like, I was ready to go home. Like, she was like, I was having a really hard time with it. And I was like ready to go home. And she was able to like talk to the teacher and they were able to kind of like walk through that with her. Yeah. But it was tough.
Damn. Yeah. So how did you even hear about this?
So you may have heard me talk about Start the Wave once or twice, the nonprofit organization that I support. Yeah. And that we've actually done some stuff with them. The founder actually spoke about it on their like About Me page, and then they spoke about it in like a podcast. And it just sounded amazing, like an amazing experience. And then obviously, you know, over the past couple of years, like it's really been a lot of introspection for me, a lot of like really pushing myself to grow and like deconstruct, childhood conditionings and stuff like that. And so it really just was, I was drawn to it. And it's been like a year that I had to get on a couple waiting lists. It was kind of hard to get into this course. So I feel like,
you had been waiting for a while.
Yeah. So I kept trying to get into it and they weren't available. And then obviously with COVID, the courses were like, they were only allowing so many people in the courses. But yeah, that's how I heard about it from Start the Wave. Dom is the founder. And I'm so happy that I went.
Damn. Okay. So why did you want to do this?
For many reasons. I think, again, like the past couple of years have been a lot of me trying to figure out how to be my most authentic self and how do I show up to all these, these spaces and places with, authenticity and truth. And I think that me being like such a people pleaser, I worry that I'm not showing up completely authentic. Yeah. Just because when you're trying to appease everybody, you adjust certain things. And so I think that is a big part of it. And then really just trying to, again, figure out like, how do I like deconstruct these conditionings? And we all live with that. But as long as we're living, something that was said, I think either in the course or in the book that I read, was like, as long as we're living with these conditionings, like we're never going to be completely at peace. And so that's heavy, but true. And so that's really my reasoning, like, for wanting to do it.
That's I mean, I think sitting with yourself in general is hard, but we also have all the distractions of our favorite shows and our friends and our family and our job, but to go somewhere and sit for 10 days. And you said it was like 14 hours a day of like meditation. I remember you being like physically was super hard. Yeah, it was. And you know me, I like, so ultimately, like I feel my feelings ever since I was a kid. Like I feel all my feelings. I'm a pretty empathetic person. Like I can feel people's energy really well. So it's like, it was interesting to go on that. And I also like, am the queen of distraction. Like I will distract myself or keep myself very busy, and that's how like either a trauma response or it's I'm not quite sure, but that's just how I live, going
250, and to step into that, it was, I think I might have told you, it was like Wile E. Coyote like running into just a brick wall, like, and then you stop doing everything. I mean, day zero orientation, we turn our phones in, which at first was like a little anxiety ridden because that's all of my work is on there. So everything that you and I do is on there. Everything that I do for Higher Love is on there. Everything I do for PDS, my career is on there.
Yep. Well, we've talked about that where even like, I remember when we went to Fort Bragg, you know, we'd get service and you were like on your phone, like emailing and checking to make sure like everything was good. And I remember being like, dude, you got to disconnect. Like, you know, so I can only imagine how hard it was because you have a very high stress, high profile job. You know, you're a boss, you're in charge of people and being people's boss. So I can only imagine, like, I mean, I know for me, my mind would have just been wondering the whole time, like, what am I missing? What am I going to go home to? What is like, I'm not, it's hard when you're gone, even on vacation, sometimes to shut off. Cause you're like, I'm going to go home to this like pile of shit that I'm gonna have to clean up. So I can only imagine that also is just like fucking layer on top of everything.
It was like in the beginning, but then I settled in and really like was able to take in the experience. And so it got better, but you nailed it. Like day 1, 2, maybe even 3, it's all like a blur now. Even by the time I got to like day 8 or 9, like day 1 and 2, it just became kind of a blur.
Were you like counting down the minutes though? Like, oh, I have like 1 more day, like 2 more days.
So sometimes I was, and sometimes I was like really in the moment, but there was like, I like really mapped out sounds funny, like my shower schedule. So then I had something to like look forward to. So then I was like, the first day I shower, the third day I shower. So like every other day, and then I'm like, okay, I have 2 more showers, and then I'm gonna go home.
Is there a shower limit?
No.
Oh.
Every other day's not bad when you're not doing anything. I was just literally sitting.
You're disgusting. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
My hoo-ha was clean, okay? I cleaned my booty hole.
I just ran my face to this mic. Okay, so let's segue into your worst day. Like, describe your worst day there. And why was it the worst day?
Okay, so day 5, for some reason, stands out as like the very worst day for me. And I just woke up really distracted. I wasn't able to like really get into my meditations.
Yeah.
I was exhausted. I was sore, like my neck, everything, like physically I was sore from trying to like sit and meditate for, really it ends up being like 12 and a half hours. So wake up bell is 4 a.m.
Ugh.
And then you start meditating at 4:30, and then we're done at 9:30 and lights out at 10. And in between that time, you break for breakfast, you break for lunch, and then you break for tea and fruit, like as your dinner. So there wasn't an actual dinner, which actually ended up working out fine. I adjusted well to that. I was very worried about not eating dinner.
So you get breakfast, a full breakfast, a full lunch.
Full breakfast, full lunch.
What was the reasoning behind that?
I don't know. I think it's just not to overindulge yourself, and it's just like enough to sustain and keep your mind like really sharp is what I'm guessing. I don't know what, I'm sure they told us, but
yeah, you're like small thing.
I'm like, we can't eat it. I
That'd
really got used to that.
That'd be my first question.
But day 5, it was just like, so, you know, I couldn't stay focused, and I was like, I'm only halfway through this thing. Like, why am I doing this? But I'm stubborn, I'm prideful, and I was like also thinking someone else could have came and had this opportunity. Yeah. I'm not going to like bail now, and if I commit to something, everyone that knows me knows that if I commit to something, I'm doing it no matter what. Yeah. And I'm so happy I did, because it turned into day 6, which was the most beautiful day for me.
And why was that?
I don't know. I woke up just with like a fresh perspective, and I don't know if I just needed to like feel day 5 to like appreciate day 6. Yeah. I don't really know. It was just like day 6.
It's like the rainbow after the storm.
Yeah, that's exactly
it. You got to get through that shit. Or like when, you know, only in the darkness do you see the stars.
Yeah. And you're so cheesy, but I know.
I
love it. But actually, now that you say storm, so the night 1 and night 10, it rained, and there was a thunderstorm the first night. And so it felt like it was just like this cleansing, you know, like water and rain. It's significant. It's just like so symbolic. Like cleansing. Yeah. And I felt that after night 1. And day one for me was a little hard.
Yeah.
Really hard, because I was like, what am I getting into? You're trying to figure out what do you do here? Like, where do I go? What, like, how do I act? You're trying to figure everything out, and it's really hard. And then you're surrounded by nobody,
literal strangers that you can't even get to know.
Complete silence. But something really, really beautiful that I haven't shared with you yet happened on day one. So I'm having kind of a hard time. And then there's a walking trail. And so we walked no, I don't know who we is. It was me. I'm alone. People were walking around.
Yeah.
But I was walking on the walking trail, and there's this like little chair, and it's in the middle of like just the forest. The trees are all up, and the sun's like peeking through the trees. All the beautiful stuff that I know that when we go to cabins, you are all about too.
Yeah.
And so I was just sitting there, had my tea, and just was like drinking it, thinking like, what the fuck did I get myself?
Yeah, keep it real. That's what we're here for.
Like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? You know, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable living in my freaking life how it is, and full of distractions and not looking inward. Like, I'm comfortable. Why am I sitting here in the woods silent and like doing this to myself? And then fucking a butterfly came and landed on my leg. First of all, when do butterflies ever fucking land on you?
Yeah, it's true.
Landed on my leg, and it's already I have multiple butterflies tattooed on my body. Like, it's already symbolic for me.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, this last like year and a half, I've been considering it like the year of the butterfly.
Yeah.
Just with butterflies a symbol of like transformation, and that's really what I feel like I've been living in, right? The caterpillar is like your childhood, right? And then the cocoon is like your conditionings that you're trying to break out of. And then this beautiful like butterfly is part of that transformation. And so it just like, I want to cry just thinking about it, because it came and landed on my leg, and I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is why I'm here. Like,
and then it whispered in your ear.
Yeah. And then it came and it was like,
get it together, bitch.
Get your shit together. It just and I just was like, it's transformation. That's why I'm here, and I need to suck it up.
Yeah.
And that little fucking butterfly got me through a lot of the days. Every time it got really, really hard, I thought about that little fucking butterfly that landed on my leg on day one. That was like, you could do this, motherfucker. This is why you came here.
Yep.
And so it was just like this beautiful moment.
That was actually like a drone butterfly that they sent in.
Did you send that fucking butterfly? You sent that butterfly?
Good job.
Good job.
No, you have to think too, though. I think that you were there and noticed that, and it was so symbolic for you. And there's probably so many of those signs around us every day. And this, we're recording from Midtown. I've already been distracted by 16 people walking by.
Scroll.
You know what I mean? And like, there's constant, at least where I live, there's constant traffic and like people around me. So there's so many things we probably miss because we're not sitting in that like solitude. So just think about that. If you had maybe been at home, I mean, you're always working on yourself. That's why we're friends, right? I love that about you. You're always working on yourself and trying to grow as a person, physically, emotionally, mentally, like financially. And that's one of the most of the things about you I love, But yes, you probably would have been okay staying home, but you did this to push yourself.
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck this. Why am I here? And it was like, no, bitch.
Transformation.
You know what I mean? That's why you're here.
So that was just absolutely beautiful. And then on day 6, which happened to be another beautiful day, I'd like to think that I saw the same butterfly, but 100% sure it wasn't the same butterfly. But he was like flying around, like me. And it just was another reminder, like, this is why you're here. And there was just so much like, I caught myself like just taking time to like watch bees. Like, I just kept going over to this plant that had all these bees on it, and I'm like, those are some fucking damn hard workers, right?
They just ran hella fast.
I mean, I did squirm quite a few times where like, I got a little too close.
Yeah.
And
after my girl, I just can't fuck with bees. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it.
Thomas J. Can't see what that was. So that was one of my favorite movies, by the way.
Yeah.
So you just spend time like actually appreciating the things around you. And I still, even like coming back, I find myself just like really appreciating nature a little bit more, people around me a little bit more. It's just, it was such a beautiful reminder to like stop and pay attention to the beautiful things that like are around us every single day.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson because it's easy to get caught up in just like the everyday fast moving life, you know? Do you feel like you accomplished like what you went there for?
Yes, because I didn't really have like high expectations. It's like, as much as it
That's what I say in life. Keep the bar low. And then you're always excelling.
Yeah. I didn't, because I didn't really know. I just kind of like trusted my instinct and my gut with it, that like this is something I should do, I should explore. And I didn't really have a ton of expectations. People kept asking me questions before I went, and I didn't do a ton of research. I was just, I mean, I did a little bit for my own peace of mind. That's just how I operate. But I didn't like look too much into it. Yeah. And people were like, but what about this? What about that? Like, asking me a bunch of questions. And I'm like, I'm not sure. I guess I'll find out when I get there. That is not like me. Like, I map stuff out a little bit more than that. And I was a little spontaneous with this trip, even though it was like mapped out, and I tried to get into it for a year. Yeah. But like my attention to it was like, or my intention before going was just really focused on transformation. So
what you're saying is you took a risk and there's a great reward.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's the shit I live by.
Yep.
What are some of like the breakthroughs you had? Like, do you, if you're comfortable sharing, I'm like, what was coming up for you?
Yeah, I think that in general, I haven't shared like a ton, because I think that overall this is like an individual and private experience, like what you're experiencing. But I will say that like silence is very loud. Very loud. My mind was like very loud. There's a lot of breakthroughs. I mean, it was 10 days. So love was another one, like the way the teacher, Essen Goenka was the teacher that like teaches this, technique, meditation technique. Yeah. You know, he spoke about love being very selfless, and it just made me like reflect on how I love my friends, how I love my family, how I love people I've been in relationships with, that like it really should be unconditional and selfless, and that we, you know, I think too often we expect something in return.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But true love is not that. When you truly love the people around you, you don't expect them. It's not conditional. You shouldn't have to love me in order for me to love you. And our neighbors, the people around me shouldn't, our community shouldn't need to give me something in order for me to love them. And so it makes me like sit and reflect on that. Like, how am I outpouring my love or spreading my love to other people? And is it conditional or is it unconditional? Is it selfless?
Yeah, and that's hard. You know, I think we've had a lot of conversations about that, even in just like intimate relationships, where if you have experienced unconditional love, like it's really hard to date anybody after that. Yeah. I've experienced that with my first ex, and it's like everybody after that, I'm like, this is not like, you know, when you're like dating a home, like your best friend, and it's unconditional, or you have a best friend, you know, I feel like I get that from you. I definitely feel like I get that from Joey, you know, and there's other friends too, but sometimes I think life, you know, pushes people to put conditions or on friendships where it's like, well, you did this and that's a bad look and I don't like it, so I don't know if I could be your friend type shit, you know? Yeah. And I definitely don't feel like you're like that at all. So that's funny to even hear that.
No, I put up with your shit. I love you unconditionally.
True.
No, but I think that it's important that we acknowledge that about ourselves, that when we're truly saying that we love somebody, do we love them? Yeah. Do we love them without conditions? Yeah. Do we love them regardless of what they're giving back to us? And if the answer is no, then you don't love that person.
Well, but this is the thing though. What do you feel like is loving somebody without conditions? Because for me, I feel like you know, friendships in my life have changed because I keep it real with people, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat shit with you. And if there's something that's going on, I'm gonna say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that's ended some friendships or made people feel some type of way about me or about the way I operate. And to me, I'm giving you unconditional love by being like, hey, listen, if no one else in your life is gonna like put a mirror to you, I'm gonna put a mirror to you. And I want people to put a mirror in front of me.
Oh, I'll put that mirror in front of you.
You do, right? Like, I want people in my life that are going to challenge me to be like, hey, like, I love you, but you acted like an asshole on Saturday. Like, what is going on? What's the bigger picture? And I don't think a lot of our society wants to live in that place, you know?
No, it's what you see on TV and the movies, and it's like, you know,
Facebook,
and
Instagram.
So like, I think all of that is making it very unauthentic. And so what you just said is exactly how I feel. That's unconditional love, when you are not afraid to help bring something to the surface that maybe I hope you do that. You do that for me. But like, I hope that, you know, everybody gets to experience that to some degree, where people are being honest and open with them. And I think that certain friendships and relationships do end, and we all, and that's okay. It's kind of like chapters, right? We have chapters in our life, and some people are only meant to play a part in part of it, and some are staying for the whole book. But I think that relationships end, and sometimes it's not. I'm thinking of some of your relationships that you've shared with me, friendships that you've shared with me. I've experienced similar things. So where it's just, that wasn't unconditional love. Yeah. At least what you were getting in return. Yeah. And that's okay. And so they moved on, or you moved on, and it doesn't feel good anymore. And I think that another big takeaway for me from this whole experience is, we have to do things that feel good to us, feel good in our heart, feel good in our mind and our body. And it's not causing chaos within or even externally. That like, we have to do things that feel good, and we have to be okay. Me specifically, I have to be okay with saying no to things. Yeah. And that was one thing that when I came back, that was one thing I was proud of myself for. Yeah. Was being able to say no to something that it wasn't super important to the person that was asking. Yeah. And it definitely was adding more to my plate, being gone for almost 2 weeks. And this was a work related thing. Yeah. And it wasn't necessary for me to say yes to that. And I'm a yes person, and I'm a people pleaser by nature. And those are the things I'm trying to break down, is that you don't always have to be saying yes to everything, because then that's what the expectation is from people. That ask Melissa, because she'll do it. And it's like, my plate is full right now. And so I need to acknowledge that my plate is full. Yeah. And I need to focus on me and what makes my heart.
That's real self-love. Yeah. I think that's the thing that people, you know, we talk about boundaries, which is what you did. You set a boundary, but I can't think of the word. It's not like clickbait, but it's like a buzzword. You know, like narcissist is a buzzword now, because everybody's so into that. Like, oh, I dated a narcissist, or I'm, you know, whatever. I think that talking about boundaries, I know people, it's like constantly like, well, I have boundaries. It's like, yeah, I mean, I guess to an extent, but like, boundaries are self-love. And I think that saying no and recognizing like, hey, this is going to add, because I'm a firm believer in like, there's a lot of shit I do for my family and friends. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is not my scene. This is not my deal, but I love this person, so I make it happen. And I don't think that's me breaking boundaries. I think that's me like investing in relationships. You know, boundaries is somebody asking me to come to Loda at 5:00 on a Wednesday, me being like, ooh, like this is really hard for my schedule, you know? So I'm glad you did that. And I think, it's like we've already said, like it's so easy to say yes to when you're running on zero. People who don't realize that, it's easier to say yes when you're running on zero, because you're like, fuck it, I have this momentum, I'm already depleted, emotionally, mentally, physically. Bring it. Let me just do this for you, because, you know, blah blah blah. And I think people do that a lot. So I'm glad you have that 10 days to kind of like chill out and reset, especially just that. Yeah. You know, to reset. Yeah. And do you find, because I know you and I share a similar love language, which is acts of service. Yeah. Do you find it difficult to like figure out where that boundary is when like showing love is kind of doing things for people? Yes. In a way. I feel like some of my relationships in the past 5 years that have fallen off is because I say no. Yeah. I also think that people in my life who are married with kids think that they have a priority over my life because I'm single and I am childless by choice.
Gregory, close your ears wherever you're at.
He's snoring. No, he's fine. Like childless by choice, didn't get married by choice. And I think people sometimes have this arrogance of like, my life is more meaningful than yours. And it's like, dude, my free time is my free time. If I want to sit on my couch with my finger on my ass, like that's my choice. It's not for you.
Sounds like a great time.
Like it's not for you to dictate, you know, like what my free time is. And yeah, you know, some people, I think even for me, when you first told me you're going to do this, I was like, I mean, you had me hook, line, and sinker for a minute, then I really thought about it. And I was like, no fucking way.
You almost joined me for like 1 second.
Dude, you had me for a minute. And then I was like, I had to really take a hard look in the mirror, butt naked. Like, you think you could do this? No. You know?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And we all have our different ways of, I think, finding, you know, our solitude and what works for us and how to look ourselves in the mirror. And that definitely wasn't mine. Yeah. But I'm happy that you did it.
I am too. I mean, some of the other like breakthroughs for me were just really like not engaging. There's not always a need to engage in negativity.
Yes.
There's never a need to engage in
but
negativity.
Sometimes we do.
But we do. We're humans.
We're humans.
Your favorite buzzword.
Yeah.
We're humans, and we do that. That's just natural. I mean, even I'm constantly fighting that. We're just around it all the time, right?
Well, that's hard not to be, especially when you're in a management position, because you're just literally like corralling these like sometimes young kids. You know, you work.
They're grown-ass adults. They need to chill.
You have multiple offices, but they act like little fucking. Some people are worse than my students. I'm like, you're acting like an asshole, and my 3-year-old over here like sitting down chilling. You know what's happening? But yeah, you know you have to corral all these people that don't know how to behave.
Yeah. So that's another thing. And just in general, like just I catch myself more now, and it's been 2 weeks, but like I catch myself now even with work related stuff that would be just annoying or like so with Vipassana, you're like observing your sensations in alignment with your emotions essentially, or at least that's how I interpreted this. And so now when I'm like getting annoyed, I would say more than like, I'm not like an angry person. I don't really get like pissed. I don't know if you've ever seen me pissed.
I don't think
like,
I have.
Pissed.
Yeah.
Not that I have never been pissed, but like I more get annoyed or frustrated, and
and then you get over it pretty quick.
Yeah. And I will internalize more than letting people see that piece of me. But like I will fight the urge, and there's that little, you know, piece, a little voice in my head that's like, don't engage. You don't need to engage in this. It's not in alignment with what your vision and your mission is for yourself and your own happiness. So like, this doesn't matter. Yeah. It's a job. My job. I love my job. And of course my job matters. Yeah. But in the big scheme of things, my job is not my identity. No. My family is not my identity. Nope. My queerness is not my identity. Nope. My gender is not my identity. So it's like, I have to keep telling myself that like these don't represent who I am as a person and a human navigating this world. Who I am is what I decide to pour out into the universe. The love that I decide to pour out into the universe. How I treat people around me. Yep. Those are the things that I hope will serve as my identity. Not all the other shit.
I feel the same way. I think I was actually literally talking to my staff about this today, because one of my staff is actually getting married, and you know, she was like talking about, like, I think jokingly talking about how her mother-in-law was like, you should take a couple days off. She's like, and I was like, take the time off. I don't need you. This classroom's not going to burn straight to hell without you here. Yeah. We'll figure it out. Like, our company front loads, you know, days for us. Like, take the time. This is a joyous occasion in your life. And I asked her today, and she was like, I think I might just take one day off. And I'm like, girl, like, what's the deal? And I was like, let me tell you something. No company gives a shit about you or us. Yeah. That's how it is, right? Like, do I feel supported and loved at my job? More than I ever have probably in my life. But do I know at the end of the day, if I was to put my 2 weeks in on Friday, they'd probably have my position filled by Tuesday?
They'd keep it moving. If I walked out into the road and a bus hit me, my job would be able to replace me quickly. Do I think that they love and appreciate what I do and bring to the table? 100%.
Same. I feel so appreciated.
But I am
loved.
replaceable.
Period. And I think that people don't realize, like, life is so short. And, you know, I love being a sped teacher. I think it's been a calling of mine, and that's not who I am. It's not who I identify as, same as you said, with my family or anything like that. And I think people get real caught up in those titles. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of emotionally void people get real caught up in those titles. And, you know, rolling into that, would you recommend this, like, this whole experience to people in your life?
No. My short answer is no. Yeah. Because I think that it's a decision that somebody needs to make for themselves. And all I could do is share like my experience from doing this. But I wouldn't outwardly like recommend it to anybody specific. I don't think it's for everybody.
The people in this room Do you think the people in this room could do it? Maybe Gregory?
I'm in this room with 2 people and a dog. And they're all very loud. I don't know. I think that it was a beautiful experience that I plan on going back at least once a year.
I remember you saying
and trying to do it. And be a part of that. And I continue to practice. It's hard. Like they recommend after the recommendation of this teaching or whatever is an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon of meditation once you leave. And I've been unsuccessful, which is hard because I don't like to not be successful at things.
Yeah.
So that's been hard, but I've been meditating every single day. It's just, I haven't been able to do a full hour in the morning and a full hour. I end up doing usually the afternoon, but
is that realistic though for like our times?
It is for some people. I think if you make it, I think people are able to do it. But it's,
I guess it's like working out. It's if you prioritize it, then you prioritize it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so that's what's hard, right? Because in addition to that, I'm trying to fit working out in there. But then with my job, you know, I manage people, and sometimes you start getting calls the moment your eyelids open up or before your eyelids open up. And so then I kind of jump right into it. So I haven't quite figured out how to manage my time around that, but I have been feeling great. Like even waking up, like it just, I feel lighter. I feel happier just navigating this world. And I feel just really good about doing it. I think that there were a lot of breakthroughs that came through. There's a lot of things that surfaced for me and continue to surface for me the more I like keep diving into it and really like spending time on myself and being quiet, which is hard. There's a lot that keeps surfacing, you know, and I think that another breakthrough for me was just like with my own anxieties and stuff, that it's just the one undeniable truth is that we are born and then we die, and nobody knows how much time is in between that. And so we just live every day and take in what we can, and we get to choose if we're happy. We get to choose how we feel every day. We get to choose if we're full of love. We get to choose if we are going to think positively about certain situations, or if we get to choose if we want to live in misery and, you know, be controlled by our environment versus like having our own control of ourselves. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with that to an extent, because I do think people living in poverty.
Agree. This has privileged me being able to say that, right?
Yeah. That's because I'm like, I don't think everybody can definitely like relate to that, but I get what you're saying. It is a choice. You know, this is something for me I've thought about a lot. When I wake up, first thing I go for is my phone. And that's like a habit I've been trying to break, right? Just like picking up my phone, checking all my shit before I get out of bed. It's like, who gives a shit? I don't even like social media. If I didn't have like a side business, I wouldn't even be on social media.
By the way, Instagram was like down all day and I loved it.
Right? Like I hate it. It's like social media to me is just, it's the same thing. It's been said a million times. A lot of it's people just convincing everybody else that their life is great and status is important to some people. I can't relate to that. I'm not knocking them, but I don't understand it, you know? But yeah, I think, some people definitely don't have the privilege of waking up and choosing happiness because their life is so hard. But for the most part, like you can make the best, I guess, of where you are. I actually saw this meme and it made me die because I'm like, this is so true. And it wasn't a meme. It was on TikTok. You know, I love TikTok. It was this guy that was saying like, I'm building, I think I actually already quoted this, where he was like saying he was building this like mansion and some part didn't come in and it was wrong. And he was like driving over there in a rage, and he got there and he was like about to like go off and rage on everybody, and then heard music and was watching the employees like dance and work. And he was like, these guys are over here making no money. Yeah. And they're working their asses off building my mansion, unnecessarily big house. And these guys are busting ass joking around. I'm over here raging over like the wrong faucet came in. Yeah. You know, and it's like, that's just perspective, where I think I'm finding this as I get older, that a lot of people are just accumulating more shit. I need a bigger house. I need an extra house. I need a nicer car. Every year I need to get the nicer car. And I think, you know, a lot of that comes from insecurity, when you have to have, you know, the nicest stuff and the best stuff all the time, and you have to post it to prove it that it's...
Well, that's becoming your identity.
Yeah.
That's how you're choosing. But that is also the cause of our misery. Yeah. Is attachment. And that's, again, this is part of this teaching is attachment is really causing us to be miserable, right? You have a favorite, whatever, shirt, and you lose it, or you stain it, or you rip it, and then you're devastated because a shirt ripped. Like, there's far more things to worry about than that. And you're choosing to be super attached to a shirt. It's
totally true. And I definitely don't, I think the one thing I'm always like mindful of is not sitting on here, for me specifically, sitting on here and talking a gang of shit when it comes to stuff like that, because, you know, I drive a Lexus. I don't drive an O2 like Mazda Miata, you know. I have everything I need and want, and I've, you know, owned a home and done all those things that, you know, at one point maybe made me appear successful to some people. So I don't want to get up here and be like, oh, it's you shouldn't be able to buy whatever you want. Buy whatever the fuck you want.
It's the emotional attachment to it is the problem.
And there's some people I know that grew up super poor. You know, and I know I went through that phase because we grew up without a lot, and, you know, buying shit was making me feel good. And I'm not going to lie, there's days when I'm like, I'm at an age where I can go to Target and spend $50 and not be stressing as bad. But then I do find those times when I have to explore that attachment that you're talking about, where I'm like, how was I feeling that day? Why did I feel the need to buy like a different face wash? We all know I have a specific skincare routine. I just wanted to spend money for what? Yeah. You know what I mean? So yeah, when you were like telling me all that, and I will say too, I remember talking to you on the phone when you were coming home, and I could hear the happiness. Yeah. Like, you were radiating joy, and I remember thinking, how the fuck is this bitch so excited? She just like
I finally got to talk.
Like, she's just excited to talk. Like, she don't give a shit. She could be talking to a fucking dog right now. She wouldn't care. Yeah. But it wasn't even that. It was just, you were just joyful. Yeah. Right? Because you'd probably break in so much. I'm a teacher, I swear. You had broken.
Dumb broke.
Yeah, dumb broke, all that shit. You had, like, you know, broken all, like, some of those conditionings that you probably were raised with.
Yeah. I mean, I still wake up like I'm glad we waited a couple weeks, because like the euphoria was on fucking cloud 9. Yeah. The first couple of days, but I still feel that. I still feel that lightness and happiness and joy that I came home with, and my you know, ex, I guess, my roommate, she still will like tell me like I'm still like glowing a little bit from that, and I don't want to lose that, and so I keep just trying to hold on to, you know, the teachings, or, you know, the things that I learned from that experience. I don't want. I know realistically, as time goes on, it will that euphoria will continue to diminish, but I want to hang on to it as much as I can, and stay focused on not engaging in the negativity, and making sure that what I'm putting out into the universe is positive, you know, because we don't, like to your point, we don't get to choose certain things, right? That one thing that kept surfacing for me was like our nieces and nephews, mm-hmm. right? When you're a baby, when you're a child, like, you don't have the choices. Yes, you and I can wake up, and even, I mean, we do with my company, we do a lot of stuff like in Ethiopia and stuff, and there's happy, joyful people living in dirt houses, have yes. nothing like fancy or these physical attachments we're talking about around them, and they are full of joy. Yeah. So you're telling me that you and I can't be sitting in this house, sitting in Midtown Sacramento, which is not a cheap place to live, you know, driving a Lexus, all this stuff, and that's not what makes people happy.
I don't think people realize that, though, because I will say, like, turning 40 this year, I've had a couple comments like, when are you gonna buy another house? And it's like, bitch, I'm so happy. I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I think some of that's like the dead weight I've shed the last couple years, and I think a lot of that is like, I love my home, I love the person I live with, like, I'm in a good place. And I don't think people can understand that, because I do think with attachments, people put so much happiness in, like, status, what we can buy, what's going to make us look good, what, you know, if I accomplish this financial goal, now let me accomplish this. It's like, well, what happens when you accomplish that last financial goal and you look back at all the time you could have been spending with your family and friends instead of making money? And for what? Yeah. And for what? For your kids to live a more privileged life than you lived? Like, I don't know. I grew up in a tiny 3-bedroom, 1-bath, which is bigger than some of even my family. There was 5 of us, plus my mom, plus my stepdad for a long period of time. and how we were on top of each other all the time. I think I shared a room with both my little brothers, like in bunk beds, and we're super close. We've obviously gone through our times where we were disconnected because of some of the, you know, stuff they've gone through and I've shared. But I always say, I think we were so close because we grew up in such a tiny space and didn't have a choice, you know? And I think that family relationships and friend relationships are more important than some of those superficial attachments.
100% they are to
You
me.
know?
But I was thinking about like our nieces and nephews, right? And babies and children. They don't have the same kind of choices that like as you're an adult and you really can like wrap your head around certain things, right? So it's just like, that's what kept surfacing for me when I was thinking like, okay, I get it. I can choose to be happy in any situation I'm in, right? I can choose to live in misery. I can choose for experiences to happen to me if I get beat up or if someone's gonna sexually rape me or something like that. I can try and fight them off, but that could still happen, and those things happen all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so that was weighing heavy on me. But then I'm thinking, okay, if my little niece or nephew is approached by an adult and is sexually molested, or if someone's harming them or they're kidnapped or anything happens to them, it's like, how do they then wake up the next day and wrap their head around being happy? And so that kept like weighing on me a little bit. Like, okay, I can get that, but how do we now give our little nieces and nephews the tools and these kids tools? So that's like something that now that's my next, like, okay, how do we get these tools and like trainings, teachings into the kids, into classrooms? So like your classroom would be a guinea pig for me. Yeah. But like, how do we
Perfect.
help
You could write my
teach them?
master's project for me. It's literally what I'm trying. That's my master's project. Yeah.
There you go. You know, but it's hard. Like my niece didn't choose to be born on heroin. You know?
Period.
My nephews didn't choose to be born alcohol. By the way, they're all adopted. So if my sister's like, bitch, acting like I'm on heroin. They're living a
very good life.
They're living a very good life.
Shout
you know?
out to Lisa and Dorothy.
Yep. Autumn just celebrated 6 years of sobriety. she got her 6-year chip.
That is amazing. Damn, we're clowning.
So I know. So, but she doesn't choose that, but she'll get to choose whether she lets that being born on heroin be her story or not. And so it's like, how do we teach that? So we all get to choose that. And I totally get that. I am sitting here as a privileged person. Like that does not go unacknowledged.
Yeah. I feel like you always acknowledge that.
I acknowledge that even going to this retreat is not something, even though it's something that someone gifted to us, right? Like they don't, another piece of this is they don't accept money to go to this. They once you complete the 10-day course, you can donate, which of course, if you have the means, please do, or you can donate your time and become a volunteer like the amazing volunteers that were there. Yeah. But you don't pay for it. And so
wait, do the volunteers get to talk?
Yeah, they can talk. Which, by the way, I burned myself on day 8 with my hot tea.
Making your prison journal?
I poured hot tea on my lap and I burned myself, and I had to go ask for aloe from someone. So I did get to talk briefly to someone in the kitchen.
You're all, I don't know how to do this anymore.
I was like, does my voice work? Does my voice okay?
I keep running
it was weird.
Deep through this microphone.
It was weird to talk when you hadn't been talking, and I was like, fuck, but I burned myself, so I had to.
You're just talking in gibberish.
Yeah. Burn, hot, burn. Yeah. So but again, me being like my privileged self, and I acknowledge that like, even though it didn't cost money technically to go there, I was able to take 10 days off of work and be able to be financially okay to do that, and not everybody is able to do that.
That's why I love you, though, because some people would just be like, well, their perspective, I feel like in this country the perspective's always like, well, blah 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 blah, like, and it's like, no, that is privilege, right? Like, it is nice to be able to take 10 days off, and yes, our companies definitely should give us that time, but you are acknowledging that you have privilege.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that. Yeah. And we all do in some way, some of us more than others.
But not everybody can, not everybody can experience what I experienced, even though the course itself was not, you didn't have to pay for it. But anyways, that was just, something that I was sitting there too, even thinking, like, at one morning I was just eating my little oatmeal and apple, my regular breakfast. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, God, like, these people volunteered and like put so much love and like time and energy and effort into like making our meals. And they're back there just like wanting to spread this message of like, how do we help people just live happy, joyful
Meaningful
lives?
Well, yeah.
Like that's all they want to do.
Yeah.
And it's like so overwhelming. Like the gratitude is just so overwhelming when you think about that, right?
That
like,
is really amazing, because I think that I was literally just talking to my sister about this like 2 hours ago. You got to do the work. I don't care what phase in your life you're in. You got to do the work. If you want to have a meaningful, joyous, you did the work. Yeah. You went and did.
Continue. It's ongoing, but yes.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Yeah, of course it's ongoing, but like you definitely did something that like I'll literally say there's no way I could do it. I would probably get kicked out after day 1.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would.
I am dead serious. Yes, I would.
I'm confident in that fact that my big mouth could not shut up.
You would have been whispering to people, and they're like, "No, ma'am, you aren't supposed to talk." No, but I'm not. I'm hardly talking.
I would have been like, "Girl, oatmeal again? Food." Like, I don't even like oatmeal. I would have been talking to my roommate. I don't even care. I'd break rules all the time. I'm bad. It would have been a bad thing. Okay, I want you to show, before we wrap this up. This was okay. So when Melissa FaceTimed me for the first time and showed me this, I probably pooped my pants because I was laughing so hard. She made a prison journal. Please share.
Okay, so this is my prison journal.
This is against the rules, by the way.
So part of like when you go to this retreat, they say don't bring any journals, don't bring any books, don't bring anything that's going to create distraction. But it's also, there's so much coming up that I was like, I need to write some of this down. Like,
how do you not forget?
I'm processing stuff. I want to remember certain things.
Yeah.
And so I thank you to Tess Franklin, my coworker that gave me a cold. Right.
That was like the universe, like, let's give this bitch
right
a cold.
Before I left. And so thank you, Tess, because I went through a whole box of Kleenex in my room, and I broke this Kleenex box down, and I found
Let me hold this up while you're talking.
I found a dry erase marker.
She traded 2 packs of ramen and 6 sticks of gum for dry erase marker.
I found 2 acorns in the forest, and I traded it.
The butterfly she was talking about, she actually traded that butterfly.
Yes. And so I broke that down, and I found a pen in the in the room, and I wrote my own little notes down and everything. So it just helped me.
Are you gonna get in trouble for showing this if they watch it?
No,
if like
you're not
Mr.
gonna get in
Vipassana,
Goenka?
what's it is?
He's passed. The teachings were virtual, and then we had an assistant teacher.
Okay, I will tell you too. When you first told me about this, I was like imagining the teacher to be Ben Stiller from Heavyweights. Sorry, super serious, guys. But like,
no. This is how we operate. Life is not serious all the time. Like that, we don't need it to be. And so that, like another thing that like I bring back, right, is like wanting to have deeper connections with people. And you and I just recently talked about this too, right? Where it's like, where do I want to spend my time and energy? I want to connect on a deeper level, but not everything needs to always be like super deep. Like, you know me, I fucking am not I'm definitely a deep person.
Yeah.
But I'm freaking joking around 90% of the time.
Yeah, my neighbors
like,
call my couch the red table couch. Because I come down here, Brayson's always like, oh my God, what are we going to talk about tonight? You're getting hella serious. Want to know about my childhood. I'm like, whatever.
I love those deep connections with people. And I'm not a chit chatter. Like, I don't really do a lot of like basic,
when
superficial.
You talk, it means something.
Yeah. And that's how I want it to feel, but I don't always want it to feel like heavy either, to where it's like, fuck, now Melissa's ready to like open her mouth. And
oh God, guys, Melissa's coming. She's going to want to talk about not talking for 10 days.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that it just really put into perspective how I want to spend my time, who I want to spend my time with, and that it's okay. We don't owe anybody anything. If I don't want to see a friend or a family member or an acquaintance, like, that's okay. I don't want to spend my time on that. Yeah. And I think that it's okay to be selfish in that way with your own time and energy. I still don't think that I'm a selfish person by doing that I still care about people and I give people my time and attention even when it's not self-serving, but we have to be like more aware of how we're spending our time and what kind of energy we're putting into it. I
agree. I think some of that with the circling back to boundaries is this sounds really shallow, but I actually saw an interview with like Giselle where she's like, I really had to reflect on why I was saying yes to things that I'm like, I don't want to be there, and this brings me no joy.
I'm the queen of that.
I'd rather be at home, like in the garden with my kids. You know, that's her thing. Like for me, like I feel like I've gotten better about being like, no, that's not I don't want to be there. I don't really like your friends, and it's not fun. I love you, and but that's not fun for me. Like, come to my house and sit on my couch, or I'll go to your house and sit on the couch and let's joke around, you know?
Yeah.
I think as life gets older, it's, you know, it's healthy to say no and to protect your energy against situations you don't want to be in, just to like show face, you know?
Yeah. And then I think you really realize who your true relationship, where your true relationships lie, whether it's friendships or intimate or whatever. I mean, I think friendships are intimate, but like you just in general, because you'll figure out quickly who will sit on the couch with you and just chat versus the very surface level where it's for show, right? Or it's for like, I need to have a billion friends, but I don't care if any of them are quality.
Yep.
You know, quantity over quality. So I don't care. I have luckily I've been blessed with like this great unit of soul friends, you know, soul family. And we live in this unit together, and I'm so blessed. And I think that you've brought in so much into my life, and I'm so grateful every single day. And I know that we talk about it every day. But I mean,
I feel the same
hopefully you feel that even outside of me telling you right now, but it's just like, you know, I think we challenge each other in different ways. We definitely see the world differently. And that's what I love, that we've grown up in different experiences. And neither of them have been easy, but they come with their own set of challenges. And I think that, you know, our little unit of friends share pieces of themselves with us that, you know, we didn't experience firsthand, but it's like, it's vulnerable pieces that make our relationship stronger.
Well, I love that there's always a lot of humor around it, right? Like when you text us, she texts our group text when she got back, like, no, I'm no longer Melissa, I'm like Princess Butterfly.
No, I was Wildflower Whitley.
And I was like, and Joey side texted me, is she serious? I was like,
dude,
no.
my mom thought I was serious too, and my dad, actually, both of them did. But because going into this, like, nobody around me really, I think you understood it.
Yeah.
Jeannie understood it. Yeah. My 18-year-old nephew understood it.
Yeah.
Why I was doing it, what I was doing. But nobody really could wrap their head around, like, everyone's still, even the people that understood was like, what the fuck is she doing? But my mom, like, my parents are like, don't go join a cult and stuff. I'm like, okay.
God.
Like,
you're like, Mom, I'm not going to join a cult. We already have work. We're already working on a commune.
We already done. We already did the church thing before. Okay.
Yeah, listen, we're done with that. Don't worry.
So it's like, I text everybody. I text my parents. What the same thing I text our little group. Friend group text, which was, I didn't join a cult, I didn't get murdered, I didn't get raped, I didn't get killed. Well, at least I know I didn't get killed, but I don't know, like, I don't know about all the other stuff. I'm not, that stuff could have happened, and
who knows? I can't talk about it.
I can't talk about it anymore. But and then I said, I'm no longer going to be Melissa moving forward. Please call me.
That was hilarious.
Call me Wildflower.
I really thought you were dead serious too.
But the lovely thing was, everybody was willing to call me Wildflower Whitley. They were just like ready to support me, even though nobody understood it. I actually think I might
have changed your name.
And right away, the friend group's like, all right, Wildflower, are you going to be like at this, whatever we were doing next?
Moving on. She's home.
All right, cool. Wildflower's here. Yeah. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience. I think that, again, it's not for everybody. I enjoyed it. I think that, you know, the technique in general is just about like observing ourselves, sitting with ourselves and observing the sensations that come up. It's just observing the emotions that come up and being able to sit with that and not expressing it and not suppressing it, just observing it. Yeah. And we get to choose. We do get to choose. And even though we're living in privileged times and I am a privileged person and you're a privileged person, we get to choose whether we sit in that misery, we sit and decide to be compassionate for people that are assholes walking on the street. Or if we decide
that's on them.
It is. And even when people do certain things to us and intentionally, it's like, you can live in that misery, but that doesn't do anything to that person. Nope. The only person it affects is us. And it's like,
keep it moving.
Live happily in peace, and that will exude out into the universe.
This is Vipassana talking. All right. Well, I don't have any more questions. thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
You're welcome. I'm glad that we got to chat a little bit. Love you, babe.
Beautiful mess.
Thanks, everybody.
A beautiful mess. Yes, life is a beautiful mess. A beautiful mess.